kind of an incredible weekend for Donald Trump. I mean, he's had many, obviously. But they announced this peace deal with Iran, ending the conflict over there. He has his birthday, and also UFC fights on his backyard. Unbelievable weekend for President Trump.
It sounds like the Iranians are going to be giving up all of their nuclear materials. And I mean, that's basically why what Trump demanded at the very beginning.
Trump's having a good week, but you know who's not? Joe Biden.
Oof. The journal who wrote this on X, when they posted this, they're like, Joe Biden is back, and at a recent event, I witnessed him kissing a woman who wasn't his wife.
The guy who has your job has the UFC on his yard in the White House for his birthday, and you can't even raise money for your presidential library.
China is waging a war in the shadows, stealing our technology to dominate the biopharma industry. And China has an unlikely ally here at home, Congress. Their plan to pass the Medication Affordability and Patent Integrity Act would betray America by giving trade secrets to China so they win their war while increasing government bureaucracy and doing nothing to lower drug prices for patients. Tell your senator to vote no and stop China before it's too late.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
This program has become one of the most influential podcasts in America.
I love the personality. You guys are killing it. I just saw you're number one. So congratulations. Thank you.
It's an honor and a pleasure to welcome the great Sean Hannity.
Guys, I love you. Congratulations on all your success.
This is why you listen to the Ruthless podcast, because nobody else would ask that question. The only political podcast worth listening to is the Ruthless podcast.
It's time for our main event.
The Ruthless Podcast.
Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I'm Michael Duncan, along with Comfortably Smug and John Ashbrook. Our friend Josh Holmes has the week off.
Brutal. The guy's out there on assignment.
Well, he's doing peace with Iran.
Well, and I'm glad he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an incredible weekend for Donald Trump. I mean, he's had many, obviously. But they announced this peace deal with Iran, ending the conflict over there. He has his birthday, and also UFC fights on his backyard. Unbelievable weekend for President Trump.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was, and also, I think I had mentioned this on X, but I haven't seen a UFC fight. This is going to date how old I am, but it's fine. Since I was like a kid, and I saw like, you know, Ken Shamrock, and then fight. There's like UFC 2 and 3 and stuff like that. And I haven't really watched since. And I watched the Flag Day, the Freedom 250, and it was phenomenal. I mean, it was outstanding entertainment. The production value was like through the roof to begin with. And I like when they'd first described this and they're like, okay, it's going to be on the White House lawn. I thought it was going to be like, okay, steel cage, White House lawn, and that's the end of it. But the way that they had like the intros of like the fighters coming through the West, and like I think they were coming some in the EEOB. Like, okay, there.
Yeah.
Shout out to our production staff pulling it out. And then like
there's Dakota Meyer too, our guest for today.
Our guest for today.
Again, how amazing is that?
Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer joins us in the back half of the program. So yeah, I mean, they were doing the walkouts for you audio only. They were doing the walkouts from the White House onto the South Lawn, which is just an incredible visual. Also, the flyovers. Can we play that flyover clip? So there's the claw, which is the structure over the, wow, look at that.
Just incredible. Blue Angels.
It's a nice Sunday. It's a nice Sunday.
It's phenomenal. And now, going forward, I am going to be a UFC guy. I mean,
how could you not be after that?
That's the thing is, I enjoyed the hell out of those fights. They were tremendous, really great fights, really exciting, great sport. I'm super into it after that. So like when NFL season's over, UFC it is.
Yeah. So for some details here on the Iran deal, of course, we have a lot that we still need to learn about all of this. They're over there negotiating now, and I know that the memorandum of understanding will be released here later this week, where we'll know more of the details. We only know some sparse things now, but Trump was asked about it at the G7. So let's play that clip.
The Iran deal that we made is going to bring a lot of success to the world, because the oil was really clogged up there for a while. He would call me on occasion, say, "Come on, please, let's go."
That's amazing, dude.
But the oil is coming way down, so I'm very honored by it. I want to thank you for your help. You've always been a help, and it's an honor to be with you.
So for audio only, that was Trump with Macron. To Macron be like, the oil is a problem right in front of him, which is amazing. But that is probably the most significant part in my mind of getting this deal done. Is you look at markets subsequently, the price of crude oil is down over 25% now over the past month, and you love seeing that happen in an election year. It's critical. Like, we had that hot inflation number coming at 4.2 because of the rise in gas prices. You've seen the cost of so many other things going down, and then to have this literally bubble up was a problem. So getting that taken care of makes me feel way better about things going into this fall.
Yeah, and you saw the market reaction yesterday. The markets absolutely loved the thought of peace. And, you know, I'm really struck. Most people, when it's their birthday, day after their birthday, they take a beat. They're like, you know what? I'm gonna hit the beach for a day. Not Trump. Not Trump. He's cutting the deal. They signed that memorandum of understanding digitally. Apparently,
they use DocuSign for that. You think?
I don't know if that's the technology they used, but it is signed. And then, like you said, I think this Friday we're going to learn a lot more about it when they meet together at the end of the week and start talking about some more of the details when those become available. But you know, first blush, it sounds like the Iranians are going to be giving up all of their nuclear materials. And I mean, that's basically why what Trump demanded at the very beginning.
Well,
right?
And if you listen to senior administration officials, they constantly, you know, talk about this deal as basically Iran gets as good as they're willing to work with the United States on issues like nukes, proxies.
Yeah, proxies was another huge part of the agreement, that they were not allowed to fund these proxies that are doing terror all over the world, really, but all over the Middle East in particular.
And also, the Wall Street Journal had lots of great coverage over the past weekend. And what kept coming up in their coverage is the fact that when Trump did the counter blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, where he was like, okay, well, no ships carrying Iranian oil are going to be allowed to pass either. That was the game changer, because that started just breaking the back of the Iranian economy, and that's what got them to the table.
Well, yeah, I mean, first we took out the Ayatollah, then we decimated all of their infrastructure, right? And then you have this issue with the Strait of Hormuz. So for the Iranians, it kind of, from what I understand, brought them back to the table to negotiate in a real way. And they also had to figure out who they were negotiating with, because there was a little bit of turmoil,
right?
Turns out.
Every leader was killed. Yeah. Next day, new leader, dead. Next day, new leader, dead. But a lot more details are coming out. We'll see how official Washington reacts to this sort of thing. And you never know what you're going to get. You always get complaints here and there. But it seems like this is headed in the right direction. It's going to take some time, I think, to work out some of the fine points. It sounds like, at least when you talk to some of these senior administration officials. But I mean, none of these guys are taking a day off.
Trump's having a good week, but you know who's not? Joe Biden.
Oof.
So with all the news coming out over the weekend and great sports, Stanley Cup, NBA Finals, all this sort of stuff, this will be easy to miss. But listener and viewer, that's why I exist, to find diamonds in the rough like this.
You're very good at it.
This is from New York Magazine. The title is Building Back the Bidens, the urgent, embarrassing, and occasionally convincing campaign to salvage their legacy. Basically, Joe Biden's hitting the road. He's going to the chicken dinners and he's gripping and grinning with Democratic activists, trying to reintroduce himself to those people and talk about the glory days, if he can remember them. This from the article. Joe Biden wanted the crowd to know he couldn't stay long. As he stood at the lectern at the Best Western in Sioux Falls, South Dakota on June 5th, he told the audience of some 1,200 Democrats munching on their first course of iceberg lettuce and ranch that he had to leave early to make it to his goddaughter's wedding. So when I run off the stage, it's not because I'm afraid to hear the response. He need not be worried of the reception. He spoke quietly, with sudden bursts of yelling. Hilarious that he always does that. And occasionally lost his train of thought. Yet the crowd ate up his attacks on Donald Trump.
Journos love to include the kind of color, like what people are eating. And what caught my attention here is when Republicans are eating a salad with ranch, they use it to like cast aspersions. All these Republicans are so uncultured. But when they use it to talk about Democrats doing the same thing, it's almost like, hey, Democrats are kind of normal too, just like other Midwesterners.
They like ranch.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much the last normal thing in this entire article. So Biden stood for almost 2 hours in a back room greeting hundreds of VIP guests and posing for photos. Okay. Normal so far. I watched one of them, a slight 81-year-old woman in a glittering green dress, approach the former president and kiss him directly on the lips.
Ugh.
He was looking at me and I was looking at him and I was like, I just want to kiss you. Weird.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing is the journo who wrote this on X, when they posted this, they're like, Joe Biden is back, and at a recent event, I witnessed him kissing a woman who wasn't his wife. And like the replies to him were like all these angry Democrats being like, why do you always have to like go after Joe Biden? Can't you let it go? Like,
really?
Don't you like it's amazing because they know that the Bidens are terrible for Democrats. Like bringing the Bidens up and any news coming out about the Bidens is a problem for Democrats. They're super ready to turn the page on that. They don't want to remind Americans of the time that they tried to deceive voters into thinking that Joe Biden was fit for office, that he was fit to keep running. Then they had to drop him, replace him. They don't want voters thinking about any of that. And then it led to that. That was why there was that whole consternation of like Jill Biden going after former staffers and people being like, why does Jill Biden have a book coming out during a midterm election? Like, please go away.
Please
is
just
what
go
Democrats
away.
who want to win are saying.
That's all they want, and he refuses to do so.
Well, here's the other thing, just very quickly. The New York Magazine interpreted her action as a kiss. We don't know what she was thinking. Maybe she saw Biden and thought, this guy needs to be resuscitated. I mean, maybe she was starting CPR.
Doing palpitations.
Okay, well, let's get a reaction from her husband, Larry. Larry, who was standing right beside her. How did he feel about this? Well, twisting his handlebar mustache with a finger, I'd rather have had Jill there. Not the best reaction. And then there's so many good quotes in this article. When I told one former administration official that I was planning on writing a book about Biden, they offered a dry reply. An obituary?
Dude, this is the thing.
It's just sad.
They do not want him out there. The Democrat Party, it's like, they're like, how much clearer do we have to be that we want nothing to do with you than when we kicked you out from your own presidential ticket? They're like, is there any way we can be more clear about how we feel about you?
Well, Smug, so why then?
That's the thing.
That's the question that you have to ask, because this is embarrassing. And you were a former president of the United States. Like, you could tip your cap, retire, not do media, not do events for a little while. Nobody's making the Bidens do this.
That's the reason is I've brought it up is because the Bidens were so lousy with their money. Like, if they earn $1, they spend 10. Like, look it up, folks. There's that whole story about how like Barack Obama offered to loan money to Joe Biden in office. Like, they've been famously they terrible with their money.
They make the Rocket Ishmael look like Ray Dalio.
And they need the money. Like, Hunter Biden has come out and said that like he's pretty much bankrupt and still has that like huge mansion that he bought in California and the like Porsche. And he's like, I can't afford any of this stuff. And it's like, he was put on the board of like an energy company. He was, when Biden's in office, is selling his paintings for like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And still the fact that they're broke, that's why they have to come back. That's why Jill has to put a book out. And she's timing it during a midterm election because she feels that's a way to get more publicity to sell books. Like, she doesn't care about the Democrat Party either.
Yeah, so more from the article, I think this article agrees with you, Smug. These days, at least, the Bidens don't have much of a choice. He's not getting any younger. He's ill, and it feels financially driven, said a Biden alum. Biden has been laying the groundwork for a presidential library foundation. So far, it's been a slog. Late last year, the New York Times reported that the Biden Foundation had brought in a, quote, small fraction of what it needed, raising questions, this is brutal, of whether a standalone library was even viable.
That is
Dude, think about
depressing.
that. Like,
the guy who has your job has the UFC on his yard in the White House for his birthday, and you can't even raise money for your presidential library.
Like, when they brought up that point of they don't know if it's even financially viable to be able to have a standalone library, what is it like? This is going to end up with Joe Biden, like the Delaware Public Library / Joe Biden presidential. Like, you can go check out a book.
Yeah,
and then also there's an exhibit on Joe Biden. And guess what? That's his presidential library.
You think they're going to put like another wing on that monstrosity of the Obama presidential library?
Well, that's the sad part.
Yeah.
Is in essence, his presidency was predicated on like, well, this is like getting a Diet Obama, getting another Obama run. And it was all the like sixth string talent from the Obama White House.
Who pushed the Biden people out.
That's the thing. It's just a mess. And that's what this whole article comes down to, is it's a mess.
Yeah. Sad. It's sad and it's pathetic. Which brings us to our question of the day.
Which is a great one.
What would you put in a Joe Biden presidential library?
Excellent question. Excellent question.
Great question.
A lot of space to wander around. I don't know, maybe his like brain in one of those.
The baggie of Coke.
Oh, the baggie of Coke. All the highlights of his administration.
Seriously.
Well, when you leave us a comment, we read everyone and get back to you the next episode. So please do that. Like and subscribe. Hit that little button on the YouTube that says subscribe, and then hit that little bell so you get all the notifications.
Very important.
And when we come back, Jim Acosta humiliates himself and highlights from the left's comically bad counter-programming to Fight Night at the White House. We have the clips right after this.
American energy is growing. With a renewed focus on American oil and natural gas, we're rebuilding our industrial strength and driving investment. Energy demand is rising, and the United States has the resources to meet it. Here's the challenge. If we can't build the infrastructure to move that energy, pipelines, transmission lines, and power plants, Americans won't feel the benefits. And while projects stall, China moves faster. Not because America lacks energy, but because Washington's permitting system is outdated and broken. Energy affordability depends on getting energy where it's needed, when it's needed. Yet critical projects remain stuck for years in delays and endless litigation. We have the energy, we have the workforce. Now it's time to build. Let's secure American energy leadership for generations to come. When America builds, America wins. Pass permitting reform now. Learn more at permittingreformnow.org. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
You know what's wild? There's a federal program called 340B, designed to help low-income patients afford medicine. And tax-exempt hospital systems have exploited loopholes to turn it into a billion-dollar cash machine. They collect massive drug discounts, but families still pay full price. And when anyone asks where the money actually goes, hospitals lawyer up and they go silent. If they're helping patients, prove it. Open the books. Learn more at hospitalaccountabilityproject.org.
Well, Smug, as you mentioned at the top, Oil prices down, stock market is up because of this Iran peace deal being announced. Things are looking pretty good in the Trump economy, but not to the Democrats. They have a constant refrain about how everything's Donald Trump's fault and the economy's terrible. Well, Hakeem Jeffries decided to go on Good Day New York to share that message of absolute fact. This is how he was greeted.
Which is going to make their life
the gas
better.
prices were this high under Obama, too. So,
well, listen,
and Biden.
Well, I'm not.
Right, President Biden? Didn't we have gas prices at over $5?
No, well, there were gas prices in the immediate aftermath of
and I remember eggs were like $12 a dozen.
So I lived in New York for a number of years. On Good Day New York, Rosanna Scotto is an institution.
Yeah.
Like, she is the best, probably morning host you can have, period. And she suffers no BS from anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're Republican, doesn't matter if you're Democrat, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do. If you show up on her show and try to bullshit, you're going to get called out, which is like Hakeem Jeffries thought if he just shows up in a Knicks hat, that's enough. And it's like, no, you should have done your homework. She's so good at that.
You know what I love about it is that Hakeem Jeffries comes on there in his Knicks hat thinking like, oh, well, this will just be a light interview.
Yeah.
I can talk about the Knicks winning the NBA finals and then I can talk shit about Donald Trump. No. And he's like not prepared at all. Totally ill-equipped to fire back at her because he doesn't know anything.
Dude, good for her.
Yeah.
Look at
unbelievable.
that. She's like a moron. Good for her. Good for her.
Okay, so did you guys follow this thing with the Jim Acosta was live streaming?
I did. This was very funny.
Out in front of the Kennedy Center because, you know, Donald Trump put his name on there as well. But then I guess because it's by congressional statute named the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts or whatever, they got some judge to be like, oh, you got to take Donald Trump's name off. If you somehow missed that, that's basically the contours of the story. Well, Jim Acosta thought this was an opportunity. He was going to live stream it. Let's go to that clip.
But this is a giant waste of time, and it's a sign of
can say that again.
What a petulant man-child he can be.
He's talking about
but
himself?
As we've been saying all night long, and all day long for that matter, this is very much like watching the Berlin Wall coming down. It is a sign that mankind, that humankind can stand up against tyranny.
Dude,
how is that real?
So it's amazing. So I want to give more context on that. He was apparently out there when it was like 100 degrees. He stood out there the entire day streaming, being like, any moment staff could come out and I will be there live streaming. You will see the letters being removed. And then like staff came out and they like put a sheet over it so you can't even see any of it going down. He spent his entire day trying to get that video clip. And then when he shows up, he sees nothing. He's like, my take is this is the same as the Berlin Wall. It was amazing.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing. Parents are probably idiots too.
That's right.
Poor guy thought he was going to get his big moment on the live stream, and it turned out like Geraldo opening Al Capone's vault. You know? The other thing in there, I don't know if you caught it, where he was talking about like a great day for mankind. This guy thinks he's like Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon.
Get out of here,
It's just
dude.
unbelievable, the self-importance of that dude. He's just the worst. Okay, so we talked about it at the top of the show. Incredible event at the White House for this UFC fight. I think it's the only time I've ever seen a entire card be knockouts and TKOs. It's just unbelievable, like finishes to all of these fights. Some huge upsets. Bo Nichols also did a great job. I don't know if you guys saw his speech after he won.
Yep.
Incredible. Well, here's what the left had to do for counter-programming.
All you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You
It's
fascists
Bette
bound to
Midler.
lose.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
Hey there, all you fascists. Let me put you straight. When you come for the rest of us, we'll fight you at the gate and you will lose. You fascists bound to lose.
Oh, this is just terrible. Wow. I thought that was a librarian from the Biden Library. I didn't know that was Bette Midler.
It's Bette Midler. Yeah.
What are they doing?
Well, it's apparently some organization that claims to like support the First Amendment. And I guess it was originally started during like the McCarthy era. and they're equating America today with the McCarthy era. I don't know, man. They tilt at windmills all day. If it's not no kings, it's this. This is their choices.
What would you rather have? Jets flying over the White House and honoring all of our troops, or that?
That's the thing. Is the contrast, right? Where you had the Freedom 250 event, where for everyone who caught it, you saw how amazing it was. Not just like the flyovers; it was visually beautiful. You had so many folks talking about how great this country is, how wonderful America is, the history. And they would have like in between fights, they'd play segments that are like, here's something about American history, here's something awesome that America did. Here's why America is a wonderful country. And then the contrast is like a star from like 30 years ago being like, all you fascists are going to lose. And it's like some local town's auditorium. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a really clear picture of where things are. Is you've got a group of people who define themselves by being mad at Trump, and it's increasingly a smaller and smaller group.
It looked like a deleted scene from A Mighty Wind.
Yeah, I was thinking Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah, kind of Waiting for Guffman. A combination of those, but they weren't done. Let's play the clip with the guy in the safety vest.
No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. Not this time. No one is getting left behind this time. How do we get there? Together or never get there at all.
Oh,
yeah.
If they're going to be theater kids, they got to be good ones.
Yeah.
They can't be off-key singing like that, no rhythm at all. How is it that you get 50 people on stage and no one has rhythm or can carry a tune?
I can't. You can't explain it. You can't explain it. I got to imagine that Democrats who are hoping to take back the White House in 2028 are also hoping nobody saw that last night.
Oh, God, it's just so cringy. Those poor people, they're sick. They're sick.
Terrible.
All right, well, we got to get to this interview. Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer gives a raw, firsthand account of, the price and sacrifice that our veterans paid in their blood in the global war on terrorism. His thoughts on coming home. He's got a new book, inspiring story right here. Strength, security, the global economy. What drives all three? Energy. But there are some that think America doesn't have a leadership role in that anymore. Well, there's one American company that's leading and innovating to deliver energy all around the world at a fraction of the cost in a fraction of the time. Venture Global. From the shores of Louisiana to ports all over the globe, Venture Global is bringing liquefied natural gas to the people who need it most. That means supporting our allies, creating American jobs, and making sure the U.S. stays competitive. Yes, no matter what people say, America still delivers when the world needs it most. And Venture Global is a big reason why. Venture Global, unstoppable energy. I want to welcome to the program Marine Corps Sergeant and recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor, Dakota Meyer. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So those are two ways of introducing you. Also best-selling author.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now also UFC hype man. I saw you. Yeah. I'm watching the UFC thing on Sunday and, get to the title card and Gaethje's coming out of the White House and there you are.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh. I was actually on the way over here. I was crafting. I'm trying to put into words, everybody, that's what everybody's asked me. And I think the best way to describe, it wasn't an event last night. I went there with, you really didn't know what to expect. I think think everybody was kind of in that situation. And I went there and I've got to tell you something. If I could sum up the entire night, it was about service.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about every foundation of this country and what it was founded on. You seen fighters, every fighter in there gave thanks to all the men and women that served. You just seen uniforms everywhere. Everybody, American flags. I mean, they all talk. I mean, you heard more scripture quotes in that ring last night than I've ever heard. I mean, the whole thing was about service. And I got to tell you, I left there last night, and as I walked home, all I could think about was just how proud I was that I've earned the right to be buried with an American flag on my body. Like it's hands down. So, I mean, being there last night the energy was crazy. I mean, you just looked around and it was at one point I turned around and looked, and I'm sitting there, and behind me I've got Shane Gillis and Tony Hinchcliffe. And I mean, it's just, you just look around and you just looked at a bunch of American loving people watching people fight. And you could tell in the fight, the fighters knew the significance of the sacred ground that they were fighting on. And they were fighting like that. I mean, you look at that last fight last night, and that is the epitome of really, the American spirit.
It was so unique, right? Because it was both a sporting event, but also a celebration of America and patriotism and all of those things. And what an incredible setup they had there at the White House, the claw and everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, the atmosphere. I mean, you look around, every detail, every piece of it. I mean, you just looked around and it was incredible. I mean, so such an incredible event.
We've got the clip of you walking out here looking badass. That's awesome.
To do damage on opponents, regardless.
I mean, it is incredible. Look at that.
Unbelievable walk.
I'm going to lose by knockout.
I mean, you see that.
Yeah.
And I mean, clearly the fighters had to have been super hyped. Every fight ended in a KO or TKO.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of them didn't even make it. Some of them didn't make a second round. I mean, I think the only one that made it even to the third round was the last fight. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was hands down probably the best event, biggest event that I've been to a ton of events, and it made the Super Bowl like it was nothing.
Yeah. And they were going all out, like you said. But the other thing you said that I thought was so important about it was the service background. All of the tributes that were paid to people who have sacrificed so much just so that we can be sitting in here bullshitting into microphones every day for fun with our buddies. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that has been given just for us to have that privilege. And you're not unfamiliar with service yourself. I'm going to ask you to tell a story you probably told 1,000 times. Medal of Honor winner. This is the first time we've ever had a Medal of Honor winner here in the Ruthless studios. And I know you gave an awful lot to earn that. And I know that there are a lot of guys around you in that process. I wonder if you could just tell our audience what led up to that.
Yeah. Well, first off, I didn't give anything. I honestly, I got to do it. I mean, I was so honored to be able to be there and watch, I was on a team. I was served in the Marine Corps from 2006 to 2010. I went to the Marine Corps right after high school
in Kentucky.
Yeah. So I went to the Marine Corps, went over to Afghanistan, served in Iraq, and then I went to Afghanistan. I was a sniper in Iraq, and then Afghanistan, I was kind of in this unique mission of what's called an embedded training team. And basically what these embedded training teams are is they take 4 U.S., or a certain amount of small number of U.S., and they insert them with, our counterparts. So that was the Afghan National Army. And the theory behind it is we mentor them, guide them, and help train them up to where they can sustain taking over their own country. Obviously, we see how that went. But what I'll tell you is, so there's 4 U.S. and 80 Afghans on a base. And I lived there. My teammates you had Lieutenant Johnson, who was from Oregon. He lived out in Virginia Beach some, but just wasn't basically he had the Oregon spirit, right? I mean, just loved hiking, things like that. Always smiling, you just never seen the guy on a bad day. Loved CrossFit, all that. And then you had Staff Sergeant Kennefic, who then posthumously was, made Gunny Kennefic, but Staff Sergeant Kennefic at the time, he was the old man of the team, so just he was from New York. He had that New York attitude, right? You know what I'm talking about. Hardness. I call it the New York hardness. Great guy, just really incredible guy. And then we had Doc Layton and then myself. Doc Layton was from California. He was your typical like surfer guy, you know. He was the second youngest and I was the youngest on the team. And then, you know, so we were going in and we were going to run this mission into a place called the Ganjgal Valley. It's a valley that's notorious in the Kunar province. The Kunar province at the time was a very dangerous place. I mean, when you look at majority of the Medal of Honors in Afghanistan came from up in the Kunar province, just because it was fierce up there. I mean, you had the Cornwall Valley was in the Kunar province, you know, famous valley, Marcus Luttrell, lone survivor, you know.
Is that just because it was so mountainous or remote? What is it about that area of Afghanistan that made it so deadly for troops?
I think it's the people. I mean, it'd be like you going in and trying to change West Virginia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, I mean, the hard people, you know what I mean? Like people who are willing to, they're going to fight, you know, and the terrain was another feature that like you couldn't just go through and clear everything. I mean, you know, it was, the terrain was insane. It was, you know, it's, you're just never going to be able to hold that land. Right. And that's always, you know, tactically, you got to be able to, really war is nothing more than taking something that somebody doesn't want you to have, right? And which was the terrain made it impossible up there where we were at. And so, and the people were hard. And so, we were going to go and run this mission into the Ganjgal Valley. We were told to come in. It was going to be a big team, big joint piece. You were running with the Army. You had the Afghan National Army. You had us. And so the Afghan Border Police, you had the Afghan National Police. So you bring in a lot of different elements. And really one of the things that's like critical on these pieces is it's really, we call it OPSEC, but it's more like not letting the plan get out. And sometimes you have malicious intent of, obviously you got bad actors that are in these, they're not vetted the same way. They don't have the same intentions or they don't have their loyalties. And so they'll leak it to the wrong side and then it screws you over. But sometimes it could be just as simple as, hey, they call home to their parents and let them know they're excited about running this mission and then it gets leaked, right? So, you know, always trying to control the information and things of what you're doing as far as the mission goes, it's always something critical. And so on this mission, somebody leaked, I'm not aware of who leaked that we were coming in to run that mission. And the night before I got taken off of the mission, it was the first patrol I've ever not ran with my team. And so I was taken off and I was put in like basically we were going to drive the vehicles in, park them, and then go in. They were going to go in on foot. It gives a softer posture. It's more of a, hey, we're here to negotiate. We're here to help. More of that perception piece than when you roll in with Humvees and guns and, you know what I mean? It's a softer posture. Why we did that, I mean, I had a few disagreements about how we were running this mission. But anyways, I was going to be left at the vehicles where we parked the vehicles and they replaced me with a guy named Gunnery Sergeant Johnson. So Gunny Johnson was an incredible guy from Georgia. He has, you know, he had a wife, had kids, really awesome guy. And, so we went in that morning, parked, and they went into the valley. And you know, I'm sitting in a truck in the turret, and I'm like I have these thermal devices which are heat seeking. So just basically looking at the mountains, and the terrain is just, I mean, it's insane. And I seen people running up the hills and tried to make people aware of it. And then as soon as the patrol got right to the edge of the village, all the lights in the village shut off simultaneously, which is never a good sign.
So they're ambushing.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, and long story short, we were already set up. Basically, you know, the valley had like a horseshoe, and so they had three sides covered, and then there's a technique called closing the gate. And so what they did is they staged over on it would be the south side of the village in a school. They staged a bunch of people. And what you try to do is once they get in, you try to close that gate right there. And now you got them surrounded. And so, I heard my team come over. They, you know, in any gunfight, gunfighting is very simple. Like it's, where are they at? Where are we at? what do we have to get them to stop doing what they're doing? I mean, it's if it wasn't simple, Marines couldn't do it. So let me just start with that.
You got the producers back there.
I mean,
Marine Corps guys laughing at
they agree, Yeah. I mean, it's not this whole, but it is the ultimate, it's ultimate creativity. Right. And so, my team, like they started taking contact, and usually in any gunfight, it's like any problem in life, like emotions are really high. And then, eventually those nerves go off and more it's like, figure it out. You start getting into your reps, your SOPs, your training, all that stuff knocks in. But it was like in this gunfight, it was like you didn't get into that rhythm. It was like every time like you would expect to get in the rhythm, like they threw something else at you. And most of the time, the one thing we had against the enemy, especially in these places, was they weren't able to sustain themselves. Really, war comes down to logistics and being able to maintain the supply of ammunition and all this. So
that was Lee's job.
Huh?
That was Wolf's job.
It's the logistics. Yeah. And listen, you know what we say? Bullets don't fly without supply, know? And so usually they don't sustain themselves because they usually have what they can carry. And so they just kept hammering. And I heard my lieutenant come over the radio, and he said he started to call in a support artillery mission. And so what he was trying to do was place this artillery between the village and himself, basically to provide cover so that they could exfil. And I knew my team was in the front because I knew where they were going. They were in the front of the patrol because they were going to go to the east side of the village to do some stuff up there. And so I heard them calling that in, and the response they got back from higher was it's too close to the village. And what we didn't know was Stanley McChrystal had put in a rule of engagement in place that you couldn't, basically you couldn't fire munitions within a certain radius of a village unless you had gone through and made sure that there were no enemy, that there were no friendlies in it, only enemy. Right. And so they said they denied it, long story short. And he came back over the radio and he said, if you don't give me these rounds right now, we're going to die. And the response was, we'll try your best.
Come on.
I quote, we'll try your best. And so for me, that was the point to where I knew there was we had to do something. And so I had, at the time, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez Chavez, incredible guy, was a driver for me, was a driver that was sitting there with me. And he was sitting in the driver's seat. And I requested over the radio, I don't know how many times, I don't need to get on Reddit and all this other stuff for he said 3 here, he said 4 there, right? But requested multiple times over the radio to come in. And my idea was if I bring the vehicles in, I could provide cover and help these guys exfil, right? And each time I was told no. And so finally, I come over the radio and said, be advised, we're coming in. And I asked Rod, I said, will you come with me? And he's like, absolutely. And so we started to take the first truck in and started taking contact. We got in the village, and I mean, it was fighting everywhere. There were bodies. The one thing I wasn't expecting was the number of casualties. I mean, it was just people carrying each other out. It was insane. And so long story short, we made multiple trips in, and I'll go back. On the first trip in, I hear Gunny Kennefic come over the radio, Staff Sergeant Kennefic at the time, but Gunny now. And he said, we need a medevac, which told me somebody was hurt. But I did know that if he gave a medevac, he had to give a grid. And so if I had the grid, I could have their location. I knew where they were at. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't go in there to save anybody else. I went in there to go get my team. Those were the guys I was looking for. And on the way in, he started to give out the first 3 numbers of that medevac. And then that was it. And so I couldn't find them, and we pushed up in there as far as we could on the first trip, and my 50 cal started to shoot single shot. So we had to turn around because then I was having to shoot with my M4, and it turned into like a big shit show. And then second or third time we come in, I had the Afghans they had these Ford Rangers. And so what I would get out and do is I would try to help guys out, like the wounded, because they were all trapped. I mean, the first trip in, they got so excited to see that we were coming to help that they got up and started running at the truck, and they were just mowed down. Like none of them made it to the truck. And it's just like the most helpless feeling ever of just, you're trying to tell them to stop and they're excited. They're scared. Like, it's insane. And so, then the remainder trips on the way in, we would stop. Rod would stay in the truck and hold the truck because we didn't want to let that go.
Yeah.
Because if you get out of the truck and nobody's controlling it, I mean, enemy gets in that thing. You know what I mean? I mean, it'd be like a cop car leaving leaving a cop car.
Then we're all stuck.
Then we're all screwed, right? And so, so he stayed in the driver's seat, and he killed a couple guys with the truck. I mean, he would run them over, and so I would get out, and I had my interpreter, found him. He would get in the turret, and he would cover me with my whatever weapon system was there, whether it was Mark 19, 240, or my 50 cal. And so I would get out, and I would run to where the bodies were, and then I would give them aid if I could. Really, all you could do was pressure. You could do tourniquets, or you could hold them until they died. And so would do that, and I'd get them back, and I'd put them in the back of the truck, and then in the back of the Ford Ranger, and then I would put the dead ones on the bottom, or the ones that I knew were going to die, and I would put them on the bottom, and then I would put the ones that had a chance to live on top, and I would just fill the back of the truck up and send it out with the bodies. And so we did that for whatever amount of time it was, and then finally they flew over. We had pararescue guys on station. They flew over and they said, "Hey, we found 5 bodies in a trench." And I had thought my team had got into I thought they had gotten to like a house, and they were fortified up and just holding the position. And we just need to get to them, and maybe their comms are out. And they said they had 5 bodies. So like I thought it was just another 5 bodies. Because at that time, like the helicopters were flying over there like spot. And wherever they were in the air, I knew there was a body below them. So I would run out there and try to bring them back. And then I took off running, and I jumped off this terrace and like landed on top of Gunny Johnson. So he had been shot. Went a little bit around this trench. It was like a trench they were trying to fight out of. And there was Doc Layton. He was on top of Lieutenant Johnson with all of his med gear scattered out. And then a little bit further around the other side was Gunny Kennefic, still with his radio in his hand. And, with his, did he have his radio? I think he had his radio. I can't, it's fucking 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so carried him out, and then put them in the freezers when we got back to base, and then cleaned the truck out, helped the Afghans patch up their wounded, and then helped them find a spot in the freezer for their dead, and then went back and got dinner and turned around, and 4 days later in another gunfight.
Dude, here's the reason why I think that story is so important. Because people listening to the show, some of them served, but a lot of them read about it on the news, or they hear a politician say, "Oh, freedom isn't free," or some other speech that sounds good, and it is good. But until you hear those words, you don't really understand the sacrifice, and even hearing those words, you don't understand the sacrifice unless you were actually there and doing it. And it is so much. It's something you live with every day. Your buddies live with every day. Their families live with every day. And I just think, like, to your point about last night and how important it was to celebrate these guys and these fighters in the ring, giving their tributes to the guys who they look up to so much. And President Trump doing what he's doing, talking about how important it is. You have, it's so important to know this.
Yeah, I mean, I am thankful. I'm thankful for it, right? I'm thankful for, look, combat is what I call the sacred knowledge. And I think what we do in the world so often right now, and it's really what's causing us problems, is we are not differentiating the difference in education and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge difference. And I always give this perspective of, look, if you're going into surgery and a guy, a resident walks in who is got a 4.5, valedictorian of whatever doctor school he's got, but he has never operated on anybody. Or you've got this guy over here who's done hundreds of these operations.
Yeah. You don't want your doctor shaking like a leaf, you know?
Which one do you want to operate on?
Right.
You?
Right.
And this guy maybe got D's all the way through it. Which one do you want to operate on?
Guy who's seen it.
Yeah. And it's the same thing in life. And look, I used to walk through life and I was like, it's not anybody's fault. But the reality is like a lot of these people walking around here that are talking, they might have a little bit of education, they've read about it, but that's all they know. They don't have any wisdom of it. And I'm so fortunate. I'm so fortunate because you know what? That day is the most defining day of my life. It's made me who I am. It's gave me sacred knowledge that most people will never get. I think combat, I think war, I think fighting is sacred knowledge. And I think it's knowledge, and it's sacred knowledge, not in a way of negativity or fighting or anything about that, but it's like I've got to see literally what love looks like. The ultimate piece of love. People who believe in something bigger than themselves, I've got to see this firsthand. And I'm so fortunate to be able to have served and to being able to watch all this, and it sucks. It hurts, right? It hurts, but I don't think that anything is like, I don't think that you learn any lessons without pain.
Yeah. And I think this, from what I'm hearing from you, it also gives you a perspective in life, having seen all that over there and then transitioning to coming back home and living civilian life and everything that means. And so I wanted to talk about this new book. The Why to the What? Yeah. Yeah. Why to What?
It's a great title.
Which is a great title. Can you explain to our audience what you mean by that?
Yeah, I went so long, I came back and I struggled. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I struggled. I had anxiety. I had depression. I mean, whatever all these like labels that you want to put on it, right? Look, I'll tell you this. I was drinking every day, just trying to find a way to silence and suppress and my own mind, because where our mind goes, our body follows.
Yeah, 100%.
And I just never could figure out. And all the questions that I had was, why did I live? Why did my teammates die? Why was I there? Why me? Like it was this why. Every question I had was why. And guess what? There were no answers to why. And I just had this shift in my mind of it really comes down to what. Why is subjective, and it gives you, honestly, it's an emotional train of thought, and what is a logical train of thought, and it gives you it's objective. And really, that's what it came down to, right? For me to get back on the path that I needed to be on, like, look, emotions rooted in logic are very powerful. Logic rooted in emotions is very dangerous. And, it's especially as men who are emotional are very dangerous. Men who are emotionally immature are the most dangerous things that are on the face of the planet. And so, that's where I was at, right? I mean, I was physically strong, I was mentally strong, but I was emotionally immature and weak. And I had to look in the mirror and I had to stop blaming my service, my past. And I had to come up with this way. And so I wrote this book on really like my transformation of getting myself out of this victimization mindset. This, literally I could come on here and I could be some alcoholic and I could look at both you all and I could be the biggest asshole, and I could be like, well, you guys don't know what it's like to watch your whole team get killed.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to say to me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Right. And in our society, it is acceptable to be the victim of your circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many people you see walking around blaming
everybody
their parents,
else, yeah.
their parents? Well, my dad didn't love me enough. You know, my mom didn't do this. It's like, dude, you're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at what point does this stop being your excuse? And so for me, like, until I went to what, and that's the mindset. It's all about framing the question. It's all about framing the perspective. And so like that was ultimately what I wrote this book on. And I basically put together, you know, kind of at the basic level, my format of my thought process to be able to pull myself out of this place of just basically not a great representation of what I wanted to be.
So how you can go from like, why me to what do I do to fix?
Yeah, because I do believe, and I think a lot of things that people, I think everything starts with believe, because what you will never achieve more than you believe, and I do believe that most people want to be good. I believe that most people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. I mean, I think everything I see out there in America right now, people are so hungry to be part of something. They want to belong. That, you know, that's what humans are. I mean, it's all of us, right? And so we want to be needed, and we want to matter. And so I think that, you know, for me, I just kept looking in the mirror, and real quick, I became the exact thing that I was against. And I had to look in the mirror, and the only person that was causing that and the only person that was going to change it was me. But the problem is once you frame it into what, now you have to start doing the hard work. You got to
do something about it.
Yeah. And I think
that can be scary for people too.
Well, I mean, I think the one thing you're going to have to accept in life, if you truly want to become the best version of yourself, is this one thing, is that for something to live, something must die. And so if you want the new version of you, the better version of you, the best version of you, the old version of you has to 110% die. And that is the reality of it. And you know, and so I think that, like, for me, like, I wrote this book, I self-published it for the reason that I didn't want it to be changed. I didn't want anybody else's opinions in it. I self-published it, got it all written out.
Because this is extremely personal, obviously, for you.
And I think it matters. I do believe that anybody who reads, I was sick and tired of books that talked about, like, you should be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. But how?
Yeah.
Right? What can I do to be better? Like, I know why I need to be better. You know, it changes every day. But what can I do to be better? And I was so sick of everybody walking around and having this fluff of this, honestly, emotional porn of, you should be better. You should be, you know, and that's motivation, right? And really what you got to get dialed in on is discipline. And, you know, so I was sick of it. And so I wrote my book, and I got it out there, and, you know, I believe that anybody who reads it and applies it will be better from it.
Oh, I think people are going to want to read this book. Where can people find it?
Amazon, so it's, I mean, Amazon, you can get it off my website, you know, dakotameyer.com. But yeah, I mean, I you know, and so, like, I wanted to put something out there to help people, some guide that I can be like, here, take this. You know, I talk about one piece in it, you know, one of the biggest things is everybody knows what they don't like. Like, if I look at you and I was like, hey, you know, what do you think about this? Well, I don't like this. Okay, well, what do you like? You talk about putting people in a mental pretzel. Start. The biggest thing we can all do is start conversation shifting. Well, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Well, I got it. Like, everybody can point out the misses.
Right.
But nobody knows. Most people don't even know the target they're trying to hit.
Well, I feel like people point out all the misses because they don't want to look inward at the misses within themselves.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm not. You know, we don't have to get into the whole biblical piece of it, but it's. I mean, that is the ultimate form, and the biggest thing that's killing the world right now is hypocrisy.
Yeah,
and it's toxic. And you know, and I was that. You know, and it's ultimately what. The defining moment that made me look in the mirror was a guy I respect. I walked in one day, we were working out training, and he looked at me and he's like, you know, people look at you and they want you around because they look at what you did as a warrior. and what you accomplished was because you're a warrior. And he's like, go look in the mirror. Like, do you see a warrior?
Mm.
And I was like, man. He goes, you drink every day. What? Like, you want the warrior title? Like, absolutely. I want to be a man. I want to be a warrior. I want to be a father. Well, all these titles, and I talk about this in there, like all the titles that we hold and we represent and we identify with.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, do you walk in the room and tell people that, like, you drink every day? So what do you call somebody who drinks every day? Well, an alcoholic. He goes, so you're an alcoholic. I'm like, oh man, and so it was just really that mirror, somebody holding up that mirror of this, because we all do this factual blending of, well, I'm too busy to work out. Well, you're also fat, right? And so it's like, I think the only thing we owe the world and people around us is to be who we say we are, not who we want to be, but who we are. So it's like, look, if you're a piece of shit, say you're a piece of shit. If you are only doing this because for the money, say that. Don't say you care about, don't factually blend that you care about other people or you're trying to make a difference in the world. Say you're here for you, and that's fine. But like, just be who you say you are. Quit trying to factually blend to make this look like something it's not. And me, I used to walk around, I was like, love America. You got to honor your teammates. As I was running around drinking my face off, being the biggest piece of shit. Like, I expected everybody else to honor my teammates, but I was sitting here and like not even living a life that was worthy of their sacrifices. And it's like, and doing it by justifying it by their sacrifice is the most unbecoming thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's a hard pill to swallow, right? I write on my mirror every morning, or not every morning, but I write it once a week when I clean my mirror. I go, what did you expect? And I look at that every day and I'm like, what'd you expect? You don't like what you see in the mirror. Well, let's talk about the decisions you've been making. What did you expect to see something different? Like when you were drinking or you were eating this or you were missing the gym, did you expect to see something different? When you stood on that scale, what did you expect? Did you expect it to go down? No, you know the answers to all these questions. And so it's like, just, you can fix it. We can control more in our life than, and in the book ultimately comes down to this. It's trying to help you build the blueprint to live intentionally.
Awesome. No, I love that.
Me too.
I love that. Really great message. I got to ask you about this. This was some news recently.
Yeah.
Some designs came out for the G. Watt Memorial here in Washington, D.C. Saw some of these renderings and, well, let's just put one of them up there. All right. So this is like the overview. It sort of looks like a horseshoe.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of controversy with these renderings being released that veterans of the global war on terrorism are lambasting it. Can we put up the second one here? This is where it gets really weird for me. It looks like something from the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah.
It's got like grass on the top of it. I don't know how you would mow that thing, but it seems weird to me.
I mean, I think that was not designed by a veteran. And if it was designed by a veteran, it was not designed by a veteran who ever had to sacrifice in a way of being shot at. And I'm not trying to degrade anybody who wasn't shot at. But what I am saying is that if you sat on a fob and we appreciate everybody's job, but this should represent sacrifice. And the ultimate sacrifice is the people who gave their lives. And down from that is the people who gave their limbs and their injuries. And the next one down is the people who gave their peace at night and their innocence to what the world is, and to that. And so like, I do think that there isn't, not all sacrifice is the same.
Mm-hmm.
All service is equal, and we should be thankful for it, and it's needed, but not all service. All service is the same, but not all sacrifice is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that looks like some shit that Bernie Sanders would have came up with. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, him and Greta Thunberg, or whatever her name is.
Right.
It looks like those two came together and said, let's put this thing together. That represents, like, there's nothing about that. These memorials and these remembrances are there to spark emotional ties and remembrance of what was given and what was like the sacred knowledge of combat.
Right. I just don't understand why it has to be so abstract,
Well, because it's
so, I mean, we were there for over 20 years. We know what this war was.
Yeah. Well,
that ain't it.
Look, but here's what I want. I do want to say, and I do believe this. I think there's a lot of people that is their perception of that's how out of touch they are with this sacrifice. We've blended, we've lived, we've created. You got to take. We've spent a lot of time in the last 20 years of tearing down foundational pieces of principles.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of people out there who have been doing everything that they can to try to change the principles of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
There's no arguing that.
Yeah.
And they've done it through the form of politics. Again, just like last night, the hatred or disagreements of one man is going to literally cloud the judgment of so many people who have power, whether it's media outlets or this or that, of what last night was about.
Right. Honoring our country.
About honoring the country.
Sacrifice.
I mean, being a patriot is considered a representation of one party.
Yeah, right.
Which is insane in itself.
It's crazy.
We got to back off, And so that right there represents, in my opinion, I'm one person, but I would say you'd be hard pressed to find a veteran that can relate to that, or that can sit here and say that represents their service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other than, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming in here and sharing all your stories. Go out there and buy that book.
Mm-hmm.
Why to what, or why to that?
Why to what?
Why to what?
Yeah.
Got it wrong.
Why to what?
Yeah. But I love the way you explained it. I think it's an important book for a lot of people. And it's obviously true that, like, the worst lies you tell are the ones you tell yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think one thing that we can all unite on is that every household, everybody is struggling with something. And I think until we put into stone that your uniqueness is not your struggles, your uniqueness is not your problems or what you're going through, because nobody at this point in life is going through something that somebody else hasn't gone through and came through.
Right.
Your uniqueness is you and your ability to get through that and what you do with that later on. And I think we've got to get back on that message, and we've got to, I hate to say it, and it's way unpopular, but if you live in the gray, and I talk about this in my book, is in the gray is where all your depression, anxiety, because there's no way to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right and wrong. It's subjective. Look, everything in life is black and white. It's right or wrong. It's good or bad. It's getting you closer to your goals or it's taken away from it. Like, everything is black and white. It's just gray is there to keep you from having to deal with it and keeping you from going where you want to go. Mm. And I always say, you know how you get gray, right? I learned this in like the 3rd grade. You take black and white and you mix it together where there's no definitive lines anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the enemy of everything that we are, everything that we as human beings are meant to be. And it's the enemy of everything. And so I just think that, look, I think we're all struggling. Everybody's got something they're going through, but where you are doesn't mean that's where you have to stay. And I think that, look, one step at a time, and go check the book out and let me know what you think.
Awesome.
Wise words, buddy.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I don't know how you can listen to what he had to say and not be inspired. I mean, he told you every last detail, and some of it was, it's hard to hear, but that's how difficult the situation was that he and so many other guys like him that fought and gave everything on our behalf. And I think it's a real treat to have a guy like him in. And I think it is so important to keep hearing those stories. And the absolute worst thing that can happen in our society is that people forget what they did. Can't happen. It cannot happen. So I just really appreciate him coming in and talking about it.
And I love how so much of America 250 is focused on remembering the folks who did serve and who are why we have this country. And I love that we had that interview. It's terrific.
Yeah, it was great. Really, really inspiring. And it's an interview that really makes you think. Only here on the Ruthless Variety program. Fellas, a great show. I think it's a banger.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much to our guest, Dakota Meyer. And thank you to our listeners. Remember, if you have not yet, go to the YouTube and hit that subscribe because it's more fun in video. So until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Thursday. Stay ruthless.